Okay, so since I was last here, I've added the nose radome and I've added the intakes to the underside. I have to say the intakes and the nose radome represent probably the two areas of the kit where there are some very minor fit issues that need to be dealt with. They're not huge. They're fit issues that I would pretty much expect in any kit of this kind of construction. The problem with the nose radome, I'll just bring you in here a second. The problem we've got with the nose radome is that it's joined on. There's a definite join line which I want to maintain because it's a separate radome, obviously. But what we've got is it's probably maybe 5 thou, too big in diameter all round against the fuselage it joins onto. 5 thou, let me think, 0.01 of a millimetre, something like that, slightly under. It's not a huge issue. What it means, I just want to gently sand that radome down at the rear here, so it matches the diameter of the rest of the fuselage. I do, however, want to protect the area of detail on the fuselage behind the radome, and this is fairly easily achieved. All I'm going to do is cut some masking tape and wrap it around behind the area I'm going to sand, and hopefully that'll protect it enough. Okay, so let's just find a pair of tweezers to... Okay, so that's all I want, is just a bit of masking tape like that. And I've just wrapped it around, as you can see. Or maybe you can't see because I've got the camera angle wrong again. So all I'm doing is just wrapping that tape around the radome area like so. Making sure it's well burnished down. And then it's simply a case of I'm going to use one of a fairly coarse sanding stick initially, and I'm just going to go around the rear of the radome, removing some material. There's no actual detail on the radome to lose. It is a smooth radome, so this is there's no problems with doing this at all. Now the only minor issue I have got is where I've, like I say, I've masked off the detail behind that to stop me destroying it. It does make it difficult to see when I've removed enough material. So what you're going to see me do is remove that tape and probably remask it a few times just as I'm going along, just to see how I'm doing in terms of thinning that radome down. So what I'm going to do is just remove the tape, that's getting there slowly, so I'm just going to remask that again. Okay, make sure that's the tape's well burnished down, which it is, and then I'm going to carry on sanding. Remove the tape again, just do another check. And that's almost done. So I'm just going to cut a little strip again and mask it for a third time. Now I am working that down, there's still a very slight step there. I'm just checking it with a knife and pulling the knife back. Against the join, which is just removing, I'm basically shaving a very small sliver off there. I'll bring it in and see if you can see exactly what I'm doing. Okay, and it's literally finding the ridge and just pulling the knife back and shaving off, you know, a tiny little bit of material each time. Now you're only shaving it off of the actual radome, not the fuselage. So okay, and with that done, what I'm going to do is mask yet again. The masking isn't, you know, isn't vital. I just like to do it because I hate losing detail if I can possibly avoid it. So I'm switching to one of the finer grits on this sanding stick. And just beginning to blend that in. In actual fact, what I perhaps should have done was started off with that using the knife in that shaving action that I've just shown you, because it would have probably cut a good deal of the sanding you've just seen me do with the coarser grades. So let's have a look at that. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but that's more or less done. I can still detect a ridge there, but it's very, very slight, and I'm happy because, as I said before, it is actually a you know, it's a definite radome panel line on the real aircraft. So what we don't want to do is blend it through and completely remove it. It's visible on the real aircraft, and we want it to remain thus on the model. So there you go. There's another piece of masking on there. I would have to go back and count the amount of times I've masked that off now. I suspect that's probably the 4th or 5th, isn't it? I'm just looking for a piece of micro mesh, which is the 150 grit I'm using here. Just running around the join now with the micro mesh. Wow. Yeah. That's that more or less done. So with that more or less done, I'm going to switch to a my finer micro mesh. As we talked about before, this is a piece of well-worn 1500. I'm just going to give it a polish without having masked off the rear. I'm not removing enough material to really remove any of the detail that I've been trying to avoid removing beforehand. This is just blending it all in until I'm happy with it. And at that point, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Now, where I've sanded this join line here in the little step, there's a panel line that runs down here on the real aircraft, which leads it's a hinge point for the entire nose to hinge up for access to the radar and associated electronics. Obviously, with having sanded and filled that join, I've consequently lost that that panel line, and it's one of those really obvious ones that I want to restore. So I'm going to use a bit of Dymo tape and a suitable scriber. Now what I'm doing is I'm cutting the Dymo tape into a couple of very thin strips, which will allow me to bend it and curve it as I need against the panel line. So there's some of the vestigial panel line is left from where I've sanded it, so I can use that to locate my piece of Dymo tape. Which have been located thus. The last thing you want to happen is for any of your Dymo tape, which is guiding, your guiding line for the scriber. You don't want that coming loose at any point. So what I'm doing here is just adding a bit of tape behind the Dymo tape just to fix it in place. Which I think you can probably see on that. So, finding a suitable scriber. This is the Radu Brinzan scriber, which was released a few months ago, which I really do like. So I'm just going to drag that back over there a few times, remove my Dymo tape and check the line. Now unfortunately, as always happens when I do this kind of thing, I've made a bit of a cock up on the underside here, but it's not going to notice. And the actual line where it's really obvious, which is down the side of the nose, I'm very happy with. That's going to need a tiny little bit of cleaning up there. I'm just going to locate locate the line itself. Now what I need to do is repeat the process on the other side. And it's I'm just going to fix that even more firmly in place than the previous piece, because I really want it to be, I don't want it moving at all. So with that in place, let's have a look. Yeah, that's much better than the other side already, so I'm happier with that. So let's give it a light sand so I can tell where the line is exactly. And then with that lightly sanded, I'm just going to drag the scriber through the line to clean it out. Barely any pressure on the scriber. Okay. You need to more or less let it find its own way. Now there will be a tiny little bit of cleaning up to do around that later on, using some Mr. Surfacer and the like, but that's that line more or less restored. Now the other thing that the other join line is on the air intakes here. And as you would normally expect, it's one of those areas that on flankers, Tomcats, MiG-29s, whatever, all with these very similar engine tunnels, can lead to some difficulties with fit, and this one is no different. It's not awful, but it's you know, it definitely needs some attention from the modeller. Now, as before with the nose cone, what I'm doing, if you can see this, is I'm using a knife held flat. And I'm just checking all round that joint, and as before, literally just scraping away at the ridge, you know, the little ridge that's been created when I've glued it, where it hasn't quite met level. Actually, this has removed about 95% of the issue right here, which gives you an indication of generally what a pretty good fit the model is overall. What I have got though, where I've joined them, where they've been glued in place, are, let's have a look. Okay, as you can see, just down in here, there's actually a definite gap on, sorry, I'm trying to get the orientation right on the camera for you. Some definite small gaps there that will need addressing, but I'll do that in a second. Some people would choose just to sand these steps level. I kind of think, why bother when you can actually use a knife blade and remove the majority of it in a few seconds like this. That plastic's going to be removed anyway and getting it level, so why not just carve it away. Before you start wasting any time on sanding. So that's now more or less level now, so I'm just going to check. I'm just going to run the sanding stick over them. Now there is some detail on the underside of these engine trunks here that I am going to lose. That is completely unavoidable due to the nature of the join here and the fact that it does need, you know, real sanding work to deal with. But nevertheless, they're all fairly. It's a fairly out of the way area, so. My models don't get picked up that often, so I'll deal with it as best I can, and I'm happy to restore the detail, but I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep over it as I would have done with the, if you remember back when I was talking about my pet hate, which is separate air brake. If that had been a poor fit, I would have been spending, you know, significant amounts of time dealing with that fit. Now, in spite of saying that the this join line here needs a lot of attention, that little amount of work you've seen me doing over the last you know, few minutes has got the join to a stage where it's good enough that I'm only going to need a very little drop of I'll probably use Tamiya Basic Putty actually to deal with that join line. It's a surprisingly good good join, all told. Let's just clear some of these plastic, some of this plastic swarf away. And that will allow me then to let the dog see the rabbit, so to speak. Yeah, I mean that's a surprisingly good join, I have to say. Certainly better than I'd normally expect in such an area of the model. Looking for a pair of my favourite pair of tweezers. There you go. Amazing how I've got many different pairs of tweezers, and I've got a favourite set. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mask off the area between the tunnels here prior to filling the minor gaps, because what I don't want is filler creating any kind of a rounded fillet or anything like that, which will just be a lot of work to get rid of. It's these little things that you can do as you go along that for a minute or two's worth of work will save you a lot of work later on. You know, think about if you're going to fill, think about where you're filling, think about is there anything you can mask in the area that you're filling to save yourself work later on. So always have a think about that. Okay, so again, this is to me a basic putty. Now I've filled that gap. Now what I want to do is remove this masking tape before the putty's dry, because it just pulls any of the excess putty away with it that I don't want near that join. And that's that done. So let's just repeat the procedure on the other engine nacelle. Now what I noticed earlier on when I was nominally restoring this panel line is that I got it out of line badly enough that through my own clumsiness. So what I want to do is fill it in, sand it, and then restore that line later on. And again, ham-fisted modelling, my fault, not the kit's, because I got the other side just about perfect. So anyway, that's today's little instalment of the ongoing sea flanker build. So I hope you enjoyed that, and this is where we are. So hopefully in the next instalment what we'll be doing is getting things like the vertical fins glued into place like that, dealing with things like the horizontal stabilators which have fairings to go on them, things like that. Basically we're starting to get to the stage now where we're looking towards you know, being only a couple of days away from painting. So I'll see you next time.